Well, good Friday morning, everybody. Finally, Friday. This is 270 weather. Weather for the 270 area code and beyond. I'm Chris Allen, and we've got a lot to talk about. And this may take a while. I've got a lot of charts, graphs, all kinds of stuff to show you. I can tell you that today, if you're wanting to get things done, today is the day to get them done. It's going to be warm. It's going to be windy. The winds really start to kick up ahead of this very strong system. And it's going to be mainly sunny. There will be some clouds at times, but otherwise, you've got a good whole day here, pretty much to do whatever you need to do and to get things done. But by the time we get into tonight, things are going to drastically change. And I need you to pay attention. Okay. So here we go. First of all, we'll do like we normally do. We'll start with a review of yesterday when we had a high of 78. I think we could go 80 or even higher in some cases today. That 78, 19 degrees above normal, 59 is where we should be. The last 3 days, it's either been 19 or 20 degrees above normal. Now, that plays a lot into setting us up in a warm sector, well above average temperatures for a severe weather event. Now, all we need is the moisture, we need the lift, we need those ingredients, and they're coming. They're coming. So, nope, the low temperature, I should say, I got ahead of myself. Low temperature was 56. If you can call that a low, I mean, look, the low of 56 is only 3 degrees shy of our normal high temperature of 59. So what does that tell you? It's too warm. It's too warm. And all of that is going to kind of play out with the system coming in. No precipitation past 24 hours, even though we saw some renegade showers and thunderstorms. It dumped some pretty good rain over Burkesville and over toward Jamestown and Russell Springs, the Lake Cumberland area did pick up a lot of rain yesterday with those renegade showers and thunderstorms. All right, let's get to it. And we'll go right to the radar. It's quiet. It is I guess you could call this the quiet before the storm. The only thing not quiet, the winds. The winds are beginning to pick up and will continue to pick up as we go through the day. These tan colored counties are all wind advisories, which go into effect later this afternoon and all the way through tomorrow evening. There's your wind advisory map. And as you can see, are the latest written advisory. South winds 20 to 30, gusts of 45 to 50 expected. And that's going to be more later tonight, overnight, and tomorrow with the second round. And it's going to continue it's going to start at 4 o'clock this afternoon and go until 7 o'clock Saturday evening. Gusty winds blowing around unsecured objects, trash cans, trampolines, lawn furniture, whatever you've got outdoors. It's going to knock it down the street. Tree limbs could be blown down, and yes, a few power outages could result. And especially once we start to get some of the stronger thunderstorms, that's certainly going to cause some power outages. So plan on that happening. It may not, but plan on it. Have a backup plan. Have your phones and devices and flashlights and all those things ready to go just in case you go without power. And sometimes all it takes is a little tree branch getting stuck in the power lines and you get a shorting out of electricity and then your power goes off. And it could be a while before you get it back on. So I'm just saying, prepare for that because it is a real possibility as we go through these next 24 hours. All right. Let's go to the Kentucky Mesonet because let's show the current conditions because the current conditions set us up for what's next. So here we go. We're starting out this morning, and the current time is just after 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Central Time, and temperatures about like yesterday are in the 50s and a few 60s. Okay, so we've got the warm air. Let's check the wind. The wind is going to be, I think, the number one threat for us. Wind, not tornadoes, but wind. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. Here's a look at the current winds coming out of the south, southwest, and some southeasterly winds east of us at 5 to 10. And then already some of the gusts are at 10 to 15. But these winds are really going to pick up today. Now, here's the problem. You see the arrows there indicating the winds coming out of the south. These are surface winds. But then when you get a few thousand feet above us, the winds are shifting direction with height. We call that shear. And that wind shear is what's going to make some of these storms begin to spin. And that spin can cause either severe thunderstorms or even tornadoes. And everybody's going to be kind of in that threat as we go through time. There's nobody that's going to be able to really escape the threat. The threat is going to be there regardless of whatever else happens besides, rain. There's going to be a lot of rain for some of you. So be prepared for that for sure. Okay, let's go to the outlooks. And this is the very latest from the Storm Prediction Center. Now, as we go through each one of these, I know the colors are getting your attention, and that's what they're designed to do. The more colors, the more indicating to us that there's a threat. Okay, so as you look at this and you look at Bowling Green, the I-65 corridor, we're still in the level 2 slight risk region. Now, understanding that weather does not follow straight lines, okay? These are drawn to be kind of guideposts, if you will, of what the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service and all the forecasters are looking at. Where is the severe weather best set up for doing some damage or the possibility of tornadoes? Yes, we can have tornadoes in a level 2 slight risk. It's happened many times. But the storm mode that we're going into, the storm mode is going to be one where there's a big line of thunderstorms. I'll show you in a moment with predictive radar how this is going to come through with a lot of wind energy. And by the way, the timing of this now has been pushed a little bit deeper into the night, and that's not a good thing. We're talking about a potential overnight situation tonight. Instead of it being, you know, more around 10, 11 midnight, it's going to be probably midnight to 2 a.m. Start for this. I know that's a bit unsettling, but when you look at these colors and you look at the chart here, the key down here in the bottom, we're under the 2, and then just west of us is under the 3 enhanced risk, but here is the level 4. This is the moderate risk, almost as high as you can go on the chart. There's one more level, and it wouldn't surprise me if around the St. Louis area today, that may go a level 5, the highest risk. But in regards to us in southern Kentucky And those living in the 270, your risk is a level 2 out of 5. Okay, take that for what you want. There's still the possibility we could see a few brief tornadoes on the leading edge of that line as it comes in tonight. The greater threat for larger, longer tracking tornadoes is going to be Western Kentucky, far Western Kentucky, most of Illinois, Eastern Missouri, West Tennessee, Northeastern Arkansas for tonight. And let me show you the tornado threat, how it's outlined here. This is just the tornado threat from Bowling Green up and down I-65, a 5 to 9, we'll say 10, rounded off 10% chance that there could be a tornado anywhere within a point of where you live, 25 miles from your point, wherever your point is, wherever you want it to be, within a 25-mile radius, there is a 5 to 10% chance that there will be a tornado tonight. That's not much. I mean, all it takes is one or two brief little spin ups, and I think that's what they will be. Short lived, short fused is what we call them. Spin ups that don't last very long. They're usually EF0 to EF1. So we're talking winds of 80, 90 miles per hour. But in that little spin up, which is, it's not a very big tornado, but it's enough to knock down some things and do some damage briefly. Okay. We're not talking the big kahuna tornadoes. We're not talking about that here. Certainly the potential is nearby. As you can see, that hatched area just back to the west of us, which takes in Owensboro. So the northern end of 165, and then back toward I-69, Madisonville, land between the lakes, Paducah. You see that red shaded area, pink kind of magenta color. That's a 30 to 44% chance of getting a tornado in the hatched area with the little black marks indicates greater than a 10% probability of a significant tornado. EF2 to EF5 in this more of that pink magenta color. That's not a guarantee, but that's where the best setup for tornadoes is going to be tonight. Okay. So I hope that eases your mind just a little. I still think we're going to go under a tornado watch overnight. We're going to have a couple of tornado warnings, especially west of Bowling Green, but these are going to be those short fused tornado warnings that's kind of on the lower threshold. Okay. These are going to be the kind that spin up very quickly on the leading edge of that squall line, and then they kind of fizzle out very quickly. But the potential for wind damage is certainly there. Here's a look at what the SPC calls severe wind, or the damaging wind potential for tonight. Notice the I-65 corridor and the 270 kind of split between the 15 to 30% chance that we'll get damaging wind. And then we start to see this hatched area. Once you go west of Bowling Green, I mean, you don't have to go far. You go west of Bowling Green, and then the damaging wind threat goes up exponentially. You see it go from that uh, pinkish color to more of a purple. That's an indication that we're looking at the purple greater than a 60% chance of wind damage. May not be from a tornado, could just be straight line winds. This system is packing a ton of wind energy. That's why I say it's the number one threat above tornadoes for us. For us. Now, back to the west, tornadoes may be the number one threat. but I still think wind damage is going to be our greatest concern, enough that it's going to knock out power. It's going to do a little bit of damage. The further east you go, the weaker the system gets. In fact, some of the latest indications, and I'll show you with a future radar, how the models are showing this thing gets weaker as it moves east. Will it be weak enough by the time it gets here to Bowling Green and the 270 to be not much of a big deal? It's possible, but I would not prepare for that. I would not count on that. You need to prepare today. Today. Hail is also in the mix. There will be enough instability and enough lift in the atmosphere that before this storm hits, we could have some renegade little cells that pop up. And that's the concern, is that with just enough daytime heating, and we'll have plenty of that before this thing gets here, there could be enough of that instability to produce some sizable hail. For us, the threat is pretty much on the low end, but back here again, where we're talking about tornadoes, damaging winds, likelihood, hail is going to be a greater threat. Again, Paducah, St. Louis, like I said yesterday, St. Louis just seems to be kind of that target zone, that target area. And right along the Mississippi River is where the worst of the storm is going to be. Okay, so that's tonight. Then we have round two that we've got to worry about or be concerned about. And this is coming tomorrow. And because round one is now timing later than what we first thought, it looks like it's going to catch up with the second wave, which is going to come up from the south and meet up. These systems are going to merge. It's actually one big system, but in a two prong kind of scenario. So you've got moisture that's going to come up from the south and meet up with this system going east. And so we are still pretty much like we saw yesterday. Southern Kentucky from Bowling Green south is in a level 3 enhanced. Everybody else to the north of Bowling Green, level 2 slight risk. Let's break down the risk. The tornado outlook is still kind of low end, but there's that little tongue of the hatched area that you see there of a 10 to 14% chance of getting a tornado tomorrow afternoon from Bowling Green southward, Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville almost, but a greater threat once you go further south, the people in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. They're going to be, as you see, kind of in that red shaded area where it goes from 15 to almost 30%. And the hatched area means 10, at least a 10% chance that it could be a significant tornado. And that would be EF2 strength to EF5. But again, the greater threat of tornadoes tomorrow is going to be south of us. So there is a threat. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but the threat is there and we need to pay attention to that. Damaging wind threat, again, going to be 30 to 44, 45% from Bowling Green southward. And again, higher numbers, over 60%, that's going to happen from Huntsville, Alabama, to Birmingham, Montgomery, all those places. They are really going to be with the worst of it tomorrow. And you know, they deal with a lot of tornadoes in Alabama. So it's going to be a hot spot for tomorrow. Today's hot spot, St. Louis, the Mississippi River. Tomorrow's hot spot going to be further south into Alabama for sure. Here's the severe hail outlook for tomorrow. Again, we're just kind of tipping that 30 to 44% chance of getting large hail. And then the hatched area would mean significant hail, 2 inches in diameter or greater. That's where the best hail setup is going to be. Again, this is for the Saturday round. Now, Sunday, everything moves out. The severe weather threat moves east. We're still, I think, going to have some leftover showers as we get into Sunday, especially Sunday morning. But we'll be waiting on a kind of a backdoor cold front to come in and cool things down, and that will stabilize the atmosphere. And our severe weather threat will then move into the Virginias and the Carolinas and further east away from us. And then we'll be done with it. At least this wave will be done with it. Okay. All right. I want to show you next the model output. And this is something that looks different from what you're used to seeing if you watch me every day. This is a different looking map. But what I'm doing is taking the one of the models, the NAM, and using this is a short-term model, and it's a little more defined. It's a more higher resolution model that will give us predictive radar, and we can go, hour by hour. Here's Bowling Green right there, Nashville, Louisville, Cincinnati. You get the idea. And I'm going to go hour by hour and show you what we think the radar might look like. This should help you with the timing. Here's the timing right here. Everything is going to be in Eastern time, so subtract an hour, and it's going to be on a 24-hour clock. But I'll help you with that. So here's right now. We go through the day. Here we are this morning. Things are very quiet. A warm, windy day. Now, here is, 16 EST. That's going to be, what? Um, 4 4 p.m. this afternoon. So, and then go an hour back for Central Time. And we're talking about 3 o'clock this afternoon. There could be these little renegade showers that pop up like they did yesterday around the Dale Hollow Lake area, Lake Cumberland, Green River Lake area. These little pop up showers. Okay. So we move forward. We continue to see those. You see them right there. These I'm not too worried about. These would be, just kind of enough daytime heating, but this is not really, excuse me, associated with the system. All right, here we go into tonight. As it gets later into the night, as I mentioned, the timing of this now has been bumped further deeper into the night. We don't like this, but there's nothing we can do about it except prepare. So here we go. Here is 0. Um, this is going to be midnight Eastern, but 11 o'clock Central. And here we go into the early morning hours. It now looks like it's going to be closer to 2 a.m. or about that time as this line comes in. And you can see it's a little disorganized. It's not a perfectly what we call a linear line. It may become that, but it's going to have a lot of wind energy. Notice how it's kind of bowing out here toward Bowling Green and Louisville and Nashville. It's bowing out because it has a lot of wind energy back behind it, forcing it east. So, with that, I know that that's why I say our number one threat is wind damage, straight line wind damage. Expect some power outages in the middle of the night, early in the morning. It's a possibility. These little individual cells, if we can keep them more in line or more linear, then we're not going to have to worry about supercells. Supercells are those little individual pop up all by themselves, rotating thunderstorms. Those are the ones that can produce a tornado. It doesn't have to be part of this overall system. It can be out ahead of it, but I don't see much of that going on, at least with this model. We'll see. Okay, so here we are. We're now going into 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Notice how it starts to fall apart. Now, this is what I was saying earlier. If we can keep it like that, where it runs into a little bit more stable air, which it will do, at least for us here in southern Kentucky, it may not be as bad as it's going to be back west of us because it's going to be kind of in a more weakening state as it moves through, and that weakening will continue. You see here, 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, scattered showers and some thunderstorms and gusty winds. Yes, but the severe weather threat, I think, will back off just for a little bit. But as I said earlier, the timing now with the southern part of this storm, the second part, and the two kind of catching up with each other, that's going to be something we've got to watch because here is the southern part of that system that's going to lift north and run into this. So let's go. Here we go into 7 a.m. Central Time tomorrow morning. Most of the heavier activity is east and southeast of us. Here we go on into the late morning and midday. But notice here is that southern wave, that second wave lifting north after a brief break from the first wave of severe weather. Here comes the second round. And this one's going to approach from the south. And then it's going to send more moisture our way. And this time, it is going to be about heavy rainfall. Even though I showed you that there is a severe weather threat for Saturday afternoon and evening, I believe once we get the initial start of this, that's where the severe weather may be. But after that, it's going to become more about heavy, heavy rainfall and less of a severe weather threat, although we could have some flood watches and flood warnings. We're talking about a lot of rain here coming in. I'll show you in just a moment how much. We continue to see wave upon wave of rain. This is into tomorrow night and continuing into the early morning hours of Sunday. And some of this may have some embedded stronger cells, stronger storms. And with those stronger storms embedded in all that rainfall is going to be the potential to have a few severe thunderstorm warnings, maybe even a tornado warning. It's possible. Can't rule it out. Although the better threat for that is going to be further south. Here we go into late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. And you can see how all this is just going to finally move out by the wee hours of Sunday morning. And here comes, sunrise. We're going to see a few leftover showers as we get into 6 a.m. Sunday morning. As some of you are getting up and getting ready to go to church, there will be a lot of rain, but tapering off. And you see this little feature. That's a little leftover piece of convection that once the sun comes back up, it may heat it up And then it's going to be one of those situations where it's going to heat back up the atmosphere, and we could have a another chance of a thunderstorm or two as we get into midday and afternoon Sunday. So we're really not done with this, even as we get into Sunday. There it is. And then finally, that feature moves on. Okay. That's the end of this run of this model. Did you notice back here to the west? Look at that. St. Louis is going to go from thunderstorms and a tornado threat, a high tornado threat, to snow on Sunday. We're not. They are. That crazy? Yeah, it is. Okay. Now, I want to show you a couple of more items here while I'm here. This is CAPE. Okay. CAPE is a number of that we look at for storm energy. It's in what we call joules per kilogram. And it gets really technical, but really it shows you just the amount of energy that's in the air that could produce severe weather. It's convective available moisture. Okay. So the numbers do start to go up as we head into tonight. And you see there, we're approaching on the scale to your right, you know, 1,000 to 1,500 joules per kilogram. Um, we're not maxed out by any means, but there's enough there. And as you can see, it goes up a little bit more to over 2,000 overnight and into early, well, actually this afternoon, I should say, into early this evening. Okay. Especially north and west of us. Okay. I'll just run this as we get, here's the overnight hours when we're supposed to get that line of storms. Notice there's not as much available convective potential energy. That's what CAPE stands an acronym. Convective available potential energy or storm energy. Most of the storm energy is going to be west of us. That's why I say as this system moves east, and here we are into 4 a.m. Saturday morning, it's going to be in a weakened state or weakened mode. There's still Cape back to the west. Here comes our second wave. And notice there how the numbers go up into the, well, close to 2,500 right along the Ohio and Mississippi rivers and the Wabash. Then for us, things look pretty quiet as far as available energy as we go into Saturday night and Sunday morning. There's a little piece of it there, and that's where I showed you that little leftover piece that comes through. I think once we get r- after the system comes through tonight, the first wave, after that, I think we're going to be in a much better shape. Tornado parameters. Okay, now this one you really have to just take with you can't look at this, and I know some of these graphics are some of the ones that have been taken and posted on social media to really freak you guys out. But you got to understand how it works and how to interpret it. This does not mean what you're seeing here into tonight does not mean we are getting a tornado. This means that the conditions in the atmosphere are set up in a way to where there will be shear, there will be spin, there will be that convective available potential energy, there will be that lift, and all of that working to possibly produce a tornado. But look where the greater threat is going to be. Remember the level 4, moderate risk, back to the west? That's why, right there. That's where the significant tornado parameter is showing It could be a big deal for Missouri, far western Kentucky, away from us, parts of Arkansas, West Tennessee, down to Memphis. It does try to move east, but it's going to run into a little bit more stable air. Now, if we can get plenty of rain and thunderstorms before this energy gets us or comes close to us, it's going to weaken it, and you can see it weaken. That's good news right there. That means we're not going to have to worry so much about a tornado threat here. I'm not saying that the tornado threat is zero. It cannot be zero. But the tornado threat is less here in the 270 area code than it is going to be back further to the west. Winds, let's look at surface winds. The gusts are going to be there. Here they are right now, or actually in the next couple of hours. We're going to see winds coming up out of the south and southeast, and we're going to watch them change direction as we go through time. This is right now. There's hardly any wind out there. Sorry, I had it on the wrong hour. So let's back it up to zero. That's now, 8 o'clock hour. And here we go. The winds gradually pick up through the day. There's a gust 18, then to 25 as we get in later this morning. Then through the midday, 25 to maybe 30, close to 30. And it stays pretty consistent. Then it starts, here comes the stronger winds, which are going to come in, sometime uh, maybe 6, 7 o'clock this evening. Then the 30-mile-per-hour gust close to 40. We're going to have some upper 40 to near 50. In fact, there's 50-mile-per-hour wind gust when that line of storms comes in. And again, this is going to happen around 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock tomorrow morning. The worst of the winds, the worst of the weather. That's when it's going to strike Bowling Green and the I-65 corridor and the 270. We get those wind gusts over 50, then they start to relax a little as that system weakens as it moves east. This is early Saturday morning. Still some pretty good wind gusts of 40 to 50. Very possible. And there's going to be one more little burst of energy and wind energy. You see it right there. This is the cold front. Notice what the winds do back behind it. They really fall off. So this is 1900 Eastern time. We're talking about what, 8 p.m. Saturday or so, right in there. Yeah, 6 to 7, and then subtract an hour. We're talking close to 6. Let's just say 6 o'clock Saturday evening. That's when the cold front is going to come through, and the winds will start to subside a bit. The stronger winds move south and southeast. There's going to be some winds gusting to 60 miles per hour, as you see there in eastern Tennessee, as that system moves east. And that's where the worst of the weather is really going to be tomorrow night. For us, it's just going to be, I think, a lot of rain. And here we go into Sunday morning, and the winds start to back off big time. And notice they change direction. Look at that. We go from southeast to south to southwest winds in the next 24 hours. And then after that, once we get into Sunday, the winds shift direction from the northwest and it gets colder. It gets colder. Okay. So I wanted to show you one more thing. This is the amount of rainfall. Now, notice once we get into tonight, rainfall amounts are not really all that impressive at first. We're talking about a half inch. There could be with some heavier thunder, stronger thunderstorms. There could be some locations that get close to an inch of rain at first, but the really heavy rainfall does not occur until tomorrow evening. And look at this. Here we go. Watch it pile up. Talking about an inch, 2 inches. There could be some locations that get closer to 3 inches of rain. Look at that stripe there. That's closer to 5 inches of rain. If it sets up in that particular area. For us, it doesn't show that much, but I think this is going to be a little more pushed to the east. The GFS model, this is the NAM, North American model. The GFS model is showing that we could see 2, 3, or more inches of rain during that time, especially tomorrow afternoon. Okay. All right. Enough of those maps. Let's go to how this is going to progress with the maps you're used to seeing. Here's our setup with the warm, windy air that is right now setting itself up over our area. Here we go to 1 o'clock this afternoon, 7 o'clock this evening. The active weather is going to be back here towards St. Louis again, the Missouri Boot Hill, parts of Arkansas, West Tennessee, parts of Mississippi. That's where that level 4 enhanced risk is going to be with the first cold front. There's several more back here, but this is the cold front that's going to put the initial push of severe weather into our region. Not necessarily into Bowling Green yet until we get past midnight. And here we are at midnight or 1 a.m. and you see thunderstorms, and the red zone area pushes further east into western Kentucky, southern Illinois, southwestern Indiana, the Wabash River, Ohio River, Mississippi River, Missouri Boot Hill, northeastern Arkansas, West Tennessee, much of Mississippi, and then into Alabama. But notice what happens between 1 a.m. tomorrow morning and 7 a.m. It weakens. At least here, it weakens over southern Kentucky. The better dynamics, the better energy with this system starts to get pushed southward. And then the target zone goes from St. Louis to Memphis, then into Mississippi and Alabama. We go to 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, not much changes, but look, coverage of heavy rain will start to push in from the south, and the bigger severe weather threat is going to be south of southern Kentucky. That's not to say we're not going to have severe weather. I still think there could be some warnings that pop up, but then it all goes to heavy rain and flooding. Sorry, that just updated on me and it went back to the beginning. Okay, here we go. So here we are, 1 o'clock Saturday in the afternoon, 1 a.m. Sunday. So this is midnight, around midnight, heavy rain and the storm threat east and south. Heavy rain rumbles the thunder overnight, but the severe weather threat is over. We get into Sunday afternoon, still some leftover showers. Here we are into Monday, Tuesday. Now by Wednesday, another system is going to come in. This one's not as strong, but we'll see showers and thunderstorms by next Wednesday into Thursday, uh, ending next week. Wet and probably windy once again. All right. So let me show you one more thing, and that would be, of course, the model blender. So, is it possible to hit 80 today, maybe 81 like they're showing here? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's doable. Strong southerly fetch, some sunshine, that's going to add to the instability, add to the lift in the air. The front itself is going to provide the necessary lift for the severe weather, uh, but it's going to add to the storm energy, the instability, all of that. So, yeah, 80, 81. And then the thunderstorms tonight, we go into the low 60s, maybe even just mid 60s, back to near 70, maybe even 72, 3 tomorrow before the cooler air comes in. And look what happens tomorrow night with the cooler air behind all of that rain. We drop to 50. As some of you could even drop into the upper 40s. It's going to get cooler. Then we only go up to about 57, 58 or so on Sunday. The showers will finally move completely out of the area. Then we see some recovery into the 60s Monday, but 70s return for Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. But look what happens after that. After that next system, we're really going to cool down. Only in the mid 50s for highs next Thursday. That's the first day of spring right there. First day of spring officially is next Thursday, and it's going to be the chilliest, the chilliest day out of the next 10. Isn't that crazy? Nature doesn't know what the calendar is showing. It just knows to do this and do that when things are set up. The patterns. It doesn't know it's the first day of spring, so it's just say it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm going to make it cooler for the first day of spring. And look, we get down to near freezing Thursday night into Friday morning, next Friday, a week from today. After that, we do recover into the 60s and 70s, and we'll be back um, to more seasonable readings by that time. Here's a look at it as we've put it up on WNKY.com. And as I had last night during my weathercasts at 5, 6, and 10 on NBC and CBS 40, um, there you go. St. Patty's Day looks good with 63. Then we go back into the 70s. Thunderstorms again Wednesday and Thursday next week. But the thing to watch out for right now is tonight, overnight, and then again on Saturday. There's not much we can do to escape it. Um, it is what it is. Okay. Now, I would just advise you at this point, and golly, I've just looked at the clock. I've taken almost an hour to explain all this, but it needed to be explained, and I needed to take the time to explain it because I know there's a lot of you that suffer from storm anxiety. I get it because I did it too when I was younger. But it's the reason why I do weather because I wanted to know what's going on up there to understand it. And once I started to understand it, I got into it, learned it, and now it's part of who I am. And I thank God for that every day. It's the path that He put me on. I didn't do it. No one else did it. In fact, everybody else told me I couldn't do it. I wasn't qualified to do it. I didn't have the degrees to do it, but this is what He's wanted me to do, and I keep doing it because that's what I'm supposed to do, evidently. Tried to get out of it. Here I am back in it. So I'm telling you all that to say this: do everything you can to stay safe. Don't push this off or brush it off like it's bunch of hype. I mean, there's been hype out there, and some of it may or may not come true. You know, a broken clock is accurate twice a day, as my grandpa used to say. I never understood that meaning until I had a broken clock. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's the time is right now because it's showing. And then 12 hours later, it would show the same time. And it's like, oh, it's accurate twice a day. The rest of the time, it's broken. I, g- I get it now. You know, some things like that you hear as a kid, and then you grow up, you're like, what does that mean? But now I know, and I understand. So the hype, there will be some out there that's going to take big credit if stuff happens like they're saying it's going to happen. They're going to be like, yeah, I was right. Look at me, grandstanding and posing and all that. Big whoop. Look, I just want you to be prepared. If you're prepared, whatever happens, you're going to be ready for it and you will get through it. There's not a way to avoid this. You just need to deal with it. I've had to deal with it. A lot of you've had to deal with it. I know you get anxious, you get nervous, you get even some of you get nauseated and sick. But look, I know this is going to sound corny to some of you, but just pray through it. Pray through it. It'll be fine. I don't think things are going to be quite as dangerous here as they will be back to the West. And if that is truly the case, then we should all be praying for them to get through it because it's going to be worse there than it will be here. But the plan is tonight that I will be and the entire News 40 weather team will be there on the air and streaming live once the storms start. And if they look like they're going to be tornadic, we will certainly be there. If it looks like this thing is going to lose a lot of energy, the more into the night we get, then we may not need to pop in on TV constantly or go constantly for hours and hours and hours. We don't know how this is going to play out, but we are ready. We will be there for you. We will be here online, not on this platform, 270 weather. I'll be at the TV station doing streaming, but we'll be on Facebook. We'll be on YouTube. We'll be on all of that. And we will be on your TV screen if conditions warrant that we be there and be on there constantly. In the meantime, I want you to download the News 40 weather app. There it is. And be ready because we will be ready. This will warn you when there's severe weather coming. You can get it set up with radar information, warnings, the whole deal. And you can hit that code right there on the bottom right hand side of your screen. That is the QR code. Just open your camera and then hold it up to that circle, and it will immediately take you to where you can download the News 40 weather app for free, whether you have an Android or an iPhone. Okay. I've gone 56 minutes. Thank you all for watching. I know it's been long and it may be a long night. I'm going to try to get some rest before I go in. But God bless you. Thank you for trusting me with your weather here in the 270. May God keep us all safe tonight and tomorrow. See you later.